You ain't talking about her, right? You ain't talking about Tashia Barnes, right? I know you ain't talking about her. I knew her before you polite. You ain't talking about her, right? The one you call Renentet, you ain't calling her your daughter, are you? Don't do it. Don't make me fucking do it, nigga. Huh? Little Dr. York, don't make me do it, nigga. Little fucking Dr. York. You ain't talking about her, right? The one.
That's the part I wanted y'all to pay attention to. When Sonetta called Polite Little Dr. York, and we all just swept it under the rug, the beef died down, and eventually Polite was back on there battling Christians. Battling Christians. And like I said, I don't want to see no Hebrew brothers go out the Polite, because it's y'all actually teach that it's okay to have sex with 14-year-olds. People, if you listening to me right now, do me a favor. Any Hebrew Israelite you hear trying to bash brother Polite, tell them they're a damn hypocrite. Tell them they're a hypocrite and quit clout chasing. Because they the main ones condone this shit in their scriptures.
You make a very negative accusation against somebody. Some accusations are so negative, you be like, yo, that shit's so negative, it gotta be true, because who would say something that negative? Damn. That's it. You know what I'm saying? So that's how that shit is. But you know, I ain't gonna speak on it any further. But I tell you this, if I accuse somebody of some shit, niggas don't buy into it, niggas hate me. But if somebody accuses me of something, it's always true. But I'm always walking around free.
Right.
It's always true.
I want to give all the praises and the honor to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shah Bahashem, Recha Ha Kodash, and double honors to the elder apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. Also a sincere shalom to you other brethren, you followers of the truth, you few sisters, and let me say shalom to the elect. I want to go in this video here an all-out rebuke on all the so-called black conscious community, brother polite, etc. Now, they're not in our doctrine, so it's, you know, you can't correct somebody who's not even a part of us, right? But this is for truth's sake and as of defending the gospel, the doctrine. Because he did manage to bring up the Bible, and it's in our doctrine. Yes, it is in our doctrine that in the ancient times, which we don't teach now, we got to keep clarifying that for people who tend to bear false witness on us. If we even taught that, we'd be right along with polite. You know, now the scriptures does say, and I'll say this first before I go forward, Sirach 11:7, blame not before thou hast examined the truth. Understand first and then rebuke, right? And this is going into the brotherhood, but this is also a representation of ourselves in general and how we're supposed to conduct ourselves. So now, I did do the research and went actually into the charging documents of Brother Polite, and it is to be true. Whether somebody faked it or I don't know. But even the system itself didn't officially charge him until the so-called rape kit came back. This happened back in June or something when the alleged charge. But I'll read a little bit of it. I'm not going to read this whole thing. You know, he has to deal with that. Okay? And we don't glorify in it, by the way. You know, we're just showing you the hypocrisy of the so-called conscious community, right? And I will say before I get started, before I forget, Sonetta has stood up for us on numerous occasions, and I'll say a Great Millstone and has admitted that there's no way we was raping anybody. If we were, we'd be locked up. I've heard him say that. besides his hypocrisy and knowing certain things about Brother Polite and certain people who do wickedness. But let me get to the point, a little bit of this statement. It says, the defendant knoweth, according to court documents, right, then pled with the victim's mother against calling the police, saying that if she did, she would ruin his career, right? So it goes on to talk about the lab results in June, and then it wasn't until August 10th that they officially arrested him. But they say he was denied bond, but as you can see, he's out. I don't, that's not my business how he got out. But I want to go to the video. There's this brother named, he calls himself Brother Sanchez or something like that. I believe it's Brother Sanchez or whatever, who made this statement that says, if you see anybody make a video on Brother Polite, that call them a hypocrite, right? So first and foremost, this is a scripture I have for all these guys that call themselves brothers. Brother Sanchez, Brother Polite, brother this, bro that. Okay, you got to watch these guys who all call themselves brothers, man. For the black community. Jeremiah 9:4, take heed every one that is neighbor of his neighbor, and trust not in any brother, for every brother will utterly supplant, and every neighbor will walk with slanders. That's these guys, man. That's these guys. Even though they're not technically our brothers, but they have a lot of, they're supplanting. This Brother Polite has schemed many people out of money, right? He's made a platform for himself, for re-educating himself, and making sharp speeches and punchlines, so to speak, to get you to make business deals, right? And then all along, this is also what I want to get at, the fact that this guy, Brother Sanchez, said the Hebrews can't say anything because they teach to mess with 14-year-olds, and we do not teach to mess with 14-year-olds. I don't know where these guys get this stuff from. We teach that in the ancient times, when a woman reached a certain age, according to her biology, she was ready for marriage. And you got a lot of men who are messed up over it because they have daughters that's 13 years old and they don't want them to get compromised in a situation, which we wouldn't want that. But the fact that when she's 13 years old and she's 14 years old, you don't understand what her body changes are going through. Although her mind is not in the right set of position, right, to be a mother. This is why a 14-year-old, according to the society, is not on a level of being of parents. Hell, you got 30-year-olds that ain't, right? So no, if you got a 14-year-old young lady today, even when you go to school, if you ever remember being in school, 7th grade, 6th grade, the mothers, the older women always called these, they didn't call them girls, they called them young ladies. That's what they were called. They were called young ladies because that's what they are. By the time you hit 12, 13, you done hit puberty, you done had a so-called period. They call it a period for a reason, because you have reached the period of time. This is why when you go into the ancient times, you didn't have a particular, you reached August 18th. You are now, you've been born in 2000 and in the year 2000 or 1998, whatever the case is. Now you're ready for marriage. Now you're ready to get on with your life. Well, that's this system. This system is set up economically for you people to live a certain way according to age. But that's not how it was in the ancient times. And I prove the hypocrisy of Pan-Africanism. And according to history, that the Israelites and other nations all followed that tradition. Not even tradition, but lifestyle, right? They all followed it. Everybody knew that when a woman reached a certain age that she was ready to be married or on the way to be, right? So you can say a woman may have a period at 9. Well, it's fine tuning. You're not having a full period till you hit about 12. Unless by some other reason you have a genetic issue, okay, or a poison. Your body is imbalanced or whatever the case is. So let's go to the, I want to go to a couple articles on this. And we'll show you also that the Egyptians also followed that. Okay? But let's go ahead to this article. It says, I'm just jumping to the point. It is just after noon and inside in a steamy square room no longer than a prison cell, Aisha Camara is covered in pink and white striped blanket. She briefly lifts a veil, hides her angular figures. See that? Hides them. See, today, this is what you call Babylon. You got to wear the tight, even in the weddings, they wearing a big tight white blooming dress to show all the curves. You know, every man ain't supposed to be looking at your wife's curves like that, right? She's now your wife, right? Anyway, the Griots and her neighbors are celebrating her wedding day, but she is not smiling. Why? Because the scripture says shame. You're supposed to be shamefaced, right? She is 14 years old, and in this town of northern Ivory Coast and throughout sub-Saharan Africa. Wait a minute, okay? You black conscious, you Pan-Africans, you all about the African heritage. Well, that was part of the African heritage, right? There you go. Such ceremonies are common. It does not matter that it was numerous countries on the continent. Such early marriages have been illegal for years. Why did they make them illegal? Because that was the uplifting of the Queen of Heaven, okay? Now, I want to go a little bit more into Polite, because what makes Polite a hypocrite, because he stood out there and said that that we're not supposed to be messing with young women, and rape didn't happen in the Bible, and obviously it did, right? And what happened when you took a woman, it wasn't the rape you see today. What happened is when you took a woman and you lied with her, you were responsible for her, right? Can you imagine if it went like that today? Would you see rapes? And if so, what would be the judgment for that? If you actually took a woman who belonged to somebody else, that is illegal rape, right? That's an abomination. You're supposed to be put to death for that. But imagine if you have a daughter and a man took her, right? And according to the scriptures, he had to pay you 50 shekels of silver, it says this in Deuteronomy, and he was bound to take care of her by law. She couldn't say, oh, he's cute, well, I don't have any interest in him no more, so I'm going to mess with his friend across the street or his other friend down the street. And he couldn't say, oh, I'm just tired of her, I'm going to mess with her and lay with her, and I'm going to lay with 5 other women. I don't want you no more. That's the wickedness that's going on in the society, and the Lord said that because you're not following the laws that the Most High gave you, right? And the whole world is not following the laws that was set up by the Israelites to govern the world. Here is the condition that you see us in, right? With the Nicki Minaj's and Cardi B's. Those are the examples of the eyelashes and the lipsticks and the blush and the implants, right? That's what you see. Anyway, let's go to 1 Corinthians 7:36. But if any man think that he behaveth himself uncomely toward his virgin, if she pass the flower of her age, need so require, let him do what he will. He sinneth not, let them marry. So what they're doing is, in order to keep the doctrine going that they have going today, they're making what is righteous unrighteous, and they're making you see it to be evil, right? Woe to them that call good evil and evil good, because there's an order that's set up, and now you've managed to throw the order off and make everybody equal, try to make everybody even though biologically we're not even set up as to be even. We were always set up to be the leaders. And the elites of this world will never let so-called feminism rule them. Guarantee it. Because the rulers of the world will not allow that. Only in your societies. Okay? So Brother Polite was going off because he was the main one saying that you're not supposed to lie with young women. So that makes him what? A hypocrite. Even if our doctrine teach otherwise. Now he read the doctrine and he understood the doctrine. He actually have. But he went and so-called, because in the state of document, he gave her liquor and I don't know, that's all I understand. Some people say drugs too. I didn't see that in the statement. I just saw he had to consume a ton of alcohol. She passed out or whatever, and he did what he did. I'm not going to go into all that. Hypocrite, a person who puts on false appearances of virtue, which is morality, or religion. A person who acts in contradiction to his or her stated beliefs or feelings. So this man isn't at a certain age to understand what is right and what is wrong. And the system even understands that. I don't know the man's age, but he's definitely old enough to know what is right and what is wrong. And the dangers about not understanding the scriptures is you'll have people who will come against us for what was legitimately done in the scriptures. Let's go into a comment. I believe I left one there. I believe the person took the comment down. They first went at us on the comment, and I guess they took it down. They said it's not all they really kind of came at us saying it's the camps. I don't see it. They must have took the comment down. Apparently, whatever comment I left, they pulled it down real quick. They were saying that, Shalom family, we don't condone that. The Bible doesn't condone mess with 14-year-olds. And I left a comment there, and I went to go look back at it. That person retracted their comment. Here's another, they go off a little bit on this. It says, many rabbis, even during Jesus' time, Yahushua's time, taught that 18 was the ideal age for marriage for men, but certainly not later than 24. He knew too that girls was ready for marriage, which they would be women, as soon as they were physically ready to conceive and bear children, which according to the law was 12 and 1/2 years. Mary, the mother of Jesus, Yahushua, was probably no more than 14 years old when she gave birth to the son of Yahweh. So, in a nutshell, when you reach a certain age of puberty, that means you're ready for sex, man or woman. So I don't, they said 18, 21 years old. Men are ready young men are ready at 10 or 9. So I don't know where that comes from, but at least not certainly for sex. Men would have been ready just as well. You put you watched an old movie called The Blue Lagoon or something like that. You take a boy and a little girl and let them grow up on an island, right? You put them there, they'll figure it out, and she'll be pregnant, I guarantee you, about 13 years old, if not 12. If you're going on nature and what the Most High set up. That's pretty much all I have on that. I think it was another clip right here. It says, this is the Egyptians, marriage in Egypt. Getting married in ancient Egypt and ancient civilization was an important business because the family was the most valuable institution of social life next to theocracy itself. Generally, ancient Egypt have married inside their social classes. The man was usually getting married between 16 and 20, or as soon as he chooses potential craft with the aim to earn money for his family, right? See, these are all customs, you know. Women usually married at about the age of 13 years or immediately after the puberty. It was not uncommon for an old man to marry a girl at puberty. This goes on to our customs too. This is going to African customs, namely the Israelite customs, right? Ancient Egyptians had married and betrothal ceremonies different compared to moderns. Unfortunately, there is not too much information about these ceremonies, but from sources it's possible to give a short view. So we could see, to sum this up, we can see that this man that set up this in his system, you know, was all for the sake of a situation, because you know how, you know, Ephraim means doubly fruitful. You know how we get down. They can't have that. So no, they got to wait till they're 18. The women got to wait till they get their careers. They're having babies at 50. Okay, so to go back into the whole video, Brother Polite would have done nothing wrong, even in the ancient times, except that he used, you know, a chemical, right, and did this to this young woman, using alcohol to do this to this young woman, right? And according to what he'd done wrong is, in this society, this young 14-year-old woman would have had the mindset, young girl or whatever you want to call her, would have had the mindset of a girl. That's why you call them girls. But really, in biological, in age-wise, she is of age for sex. And if he took her, he would have to take care of her. But you of Western culture, you're stuck in the system that teach you this. But even in your culture, if you believe, let me say your belief, if you believe in Pan-Africanism, they didn't wait till the young woman was 18 years old. And if it did happen at 18, it happened. But she was marriageable at the time of conception. At the time of puberty. This is why you have what you call periods. This is what you have moon cycles. And then you'll say in the Bible, you have people come on and say, well, you had to be, the men was 21 to join the armies, and then you had, you know, certain men do certain things. But you have to understand too, the calendars of old is not the calendars of today, right? So these are how things are put in the Bible. You have to go research and figure it out differently. Okay? Anyway, that's all I have on that. Shalom.